Before we begin our journey tonight, I invite you to find a comfortable place, take a deep breath in, and let it go. If you enjoy stories that carry you to faraway places, where time drifts like mist and the world is lit by ancient wonders, then please, tap the like button and subscribe so you'll always know when the next dream is ready for you. And now, close your eyes, feel the edges of the present fade away, because tonight, you are not watching a story, you are living it. Imagine a pale silver light curling into the corners of your vision, the sound of turning pages somewhere far away, and a deep resonant bell that rings only once. Feel it in your chest. The air changes. It is cooler now, faintly scented with rain and wood smoke, and as you open your eyes again, you are no longer here. You are standing at the mouth of a hidden valley, mist curling low, and somewhere ahead, the Ancient Luminous Library waits for you. You take your first step into the valley, and the world tilts in that strange dreamlike way that happens when you know you are walking into a place that has been waiting for you for centuries. The grass under your boots whispering like quiet voices, the air itself thicker, almost liquid with the weight of forgotten magic, the mist swirling in pale ribbons that drift aside just enough to show you a path of black river streams leading down into the shadows. The slope, gentle but steady, carrying you deeper into a hushed basin where the wind no longer moves, and the sound of your breathing seems too loud. You hear something then, not quite a voice, but more like a low hum woven into the earth itself, and you realize it is following the rhythm of your heartbeat, sinking with you as if acknowledging your arrival. The scent here is unlike anything you have known: sweet resin, warm parchment, a faint tint of metal as though old ink is still wet somewhere. And through the drifting white you see the first glimmer of light that is not from the moon, an amber gold flicker that seems to pulse rather than shine. And as you draw closer, you see it spills from arched windows, carved into a wall of stone so ancient the ivy growing across it has the thickness of tree trunks, the building rising impossibly high, its roof disappearing into the fog. And the windows are not glass at all, but thin sheets of polished crystal, etched with runes that seem to shift when you are not looking directly at them. The carved doorway is flanked by two enormous statues, robed figures whose faces are hidden by deep hoods, their hands cradling books that are not stone but some dark material that absorbs light rather than reflects it. And between them the heavy double doors stand slightly open, a warm breath of light spilling into the mist, the hum in your chest deepening until it feels like a call, and without hesitation you step inside. The shift immediate, the outside world gone as though it never was. The air warmer and alive, lit not by torches or candles, but by shelves themselves, each carved from pale wood that glows softly, as if each plank holds a memory of sunlight. The aisles stretch on, so long that they fade into haze. Books of every size and shape stacked neatly, some bound in leather the color of midnight, some wrapped in cloth embroidered with silver threads, some so old their spines have turned to a smooth sheen from centuries of hands touching them. And above you, the ceiling is not solid but a canopy of suspended lanterns, each containing a single swirling mote of light that dances in slow spirals, casting the illusion of stars turning far away. And in the center of it all there is a circular desk of black stone veined with gold, and behind it sits a figure you cannot at first see clearly, only the outline of robes that shimmer between colors, as though they cannot decide which they wish to be. The figure's head tilts slightly, as though they have been expecting you, and when they speak, their voice is like the turning of a page and the echo of a bell combined, soft but resonant, and they say, "Welcome back. You have been here before, though not in this life." The words ripple through you like warm water, loosening something in your chest you didn't realize you'd been holding for years. And though you want to speak, your mouth feels heavy, as if speech here requires more than just air, it requires intention. And before you can summon yours, the robed figure rises from behind the desk in one unbroken movement, tall and graceful, their hands emerging from the sleeves to reveal long fingers tipped with ink stains that shimmer faintly in the light. They gesture for you to follow, and your feet obey before your mind can catch up. The floor beneath you, a smooth mosaic of pale and dark stones arranged into constellations you half recognize from nights spent staring at the sky, except here the stars shift when you glance away, realigning into new patterns, as though the floor itself is alive and rewriting the heavens for you. The hum that began outside is now layered with other sound, soft whispers from the books themselves, the flutter of unseen pages turning, the occasional chime like a drop of crystal falling into water. And you feel it now, the pull, a sensation not unlike remembering a dream just before it fades. The robed figure leads you between towering shelves where the wood feels warm under your fingertips, and you realize that each shelf hums with its own tone, as though every section of the library is tuned to a different note in a grand unseen symphony. The air grows cooler as you walk until you arrive at an archway framed with two slender columns of white marble, each engraved with tiny glyphs that seem to wriggle under your gaze. The figure pauses, and with a voice that is almost a whisper but carries perfectly to your ears, they say, "Beyond this threshold, the library ceases to be a place you walk through and becomes a place that walks through you." They step aside, allowing you to cross alone. And as you step through the archway, you are engulfed in light so soft it feels like silk. And when it fades, the space before you is not a single room but an impossible expanse, a landscape of shelves that stretch like the walls of canyons, pathways curling upward into the air and vanishing into brightness, books suspended in mid-air without support, gently rotating as if in thought, and far in the distance you see what looks like a river, but its waters gleam like liquid moonlight, flowing not through the ground but through the air, winding between shelves like a serpent of silver. Your chest tightens with awe because this is not simply a place where books are kept. This is a living memory of the world, and you feel it pressing gently against your mind, offering to show you things you have forgotten, or perhaps have not yet lived. You take a slow, deliberate breath, feeling the air fill you with something brighter than oxygen, as though every inhale draws threads of ancient memory into your veins. The silver river in the distance seems to beckon, but before you can take a step toward it, a cluster of floating books drifts near, their covers turning toward you one by one like curious faces. The first is bound in deep green leather, with a clasp shaped like a sleeping fox. The second is wrapped in strips of midnight blue fabric embroidered with gold stars. The third is unlike anything you've seen before. Its cover appears to be woven from shifting strands of light, each thread pulsing softly in time with your heartbeat. You reach out without thinking, fingers brushing the luminous weave, and suddenly your surroundings dissolve, the shelves melting away into a rush of color and wind, and you are no longer in the library but standing barefoot on cool grass beneath a sky thick with stars, a medieval village sleeping nearby, smoke rising in lazy curls from chimneys, a single candle flickering in a window as if waiting for someone to return. You hear your own breath, and then another sound page is turning somewhere in the dark, and as you follow it, the air changes, carrying the scent of warm parchment and cedar oil, and there beneath a massive oak tree you see a woman in a long woolen cloak, reading by lantern light, her eyes glancing up at you with a knowing expression. "Ah, so you've opened the Star Thread Codex," she says, her voice low and rich. "Few have ever found its spine. Fewer still have dared to touch it." She pats the ground beside her, and you sit, though you can feel the hum of the library still at the edges of this moment, as if the shelves are just beyond the horizon. The woman flips a page and gestures for you to look, and the text does not appear in letters, but in moving shapes, teeny constellations of light rearranging into scenes before your eyes. You watch a falcon's flight turn into a storm melt into the curve of a smile bloom into the map of a forgotten city, and the longer you watch, the more you realize these are not stories from the past. They are threads of possible lives, including your own, choices you have yet to make, and paths you might yet walk. The woman glances at you again, her gaze sharp and warm all at once. In the library, time is a visitor, and it has come to see you tonight. She closes the book with a sound like the hush of waves on sand, and the moment she does, the ground beneath you fades into nothing. The stars above spin into a whirl of silver light, and you are gently set back down into the library, the floating book retreating to its quiet orbit above, leaving you with the echo of her words still in your mind. You stand still for a long moment, letting the rhythm of the library's light and shadow settle around you, though you know you've returned to its vast halls. The sensation of grass beneath your feet and the cool brush of night air against your skin still lingers, as if some part of you never left the world of the cloaked woman. Your gaze drifts upward, following the slow spiral of the floating books until they vanish between the towering shelves. And there, in the distance, a new glow draws your attention, not golden like the lanterns, not silver like moonlight, but a deep, living blue, the color of the ocean just before dawn. You step toward it, each footfall hushed by the velvet carpeting, the whisper of your movement, blending with the faint crackle of quills writing themselves somewhere unseen. As you draw nearer, the shelves curve into an open space where an immense sphere hovers above a marble dais, its surface rippling with the shimmer of liquid glass. Every so often the sphere bends its light into fleeting shapes, a pair of hands opening a scroll, a flock of starlings wheeling against a crimson sky, a key turning in a lock you don't yet recognize. You feel the pull to reach out, but something makes you pause, a sense that this sphere is not simply an object but a sentinel, watching, weighing, measuring whether you're ready. The hush deepens, and in that quiet, you realize you can hear faint echoes your own voice, speaking in times you haven't yet lived, laughing in rooms you haven't yet entered, whispering to people you haven't yet met. The sphere's glow intensifies, casting your shadow long across the floor, and in that stretched silhouette, you see not just yourself, but versions of you, some older, some younger, some dressed in clothes from centuries past, one wearing the rough tunic of a medieval scribe, another in the flowing robes of a scholar from some ancient city. Each turns toward you, as if waiting for you to choose. A low chime hums through the air, not loud, but resonant enough to vibrate in your bones, and the sphere tilts toward you like an eye. A voice neither male nor female whispers from within. All who seek knowledge here must walk their own timeline. Will you step through? The surface of the sphere ripples open into a swirling doorway of blue light, and without fully knowing why, you step forward. The instant you do, the world tilts, your senses rearrange, and you are somewhere else. The sentence blooms across the page as though the ink is alive, curling into letters that feel impossibly familiar. Return to the moment before the first story was told. You read the words aloud without meaning to, and the moment they leave your lips, the book warms in your hands. The air bends, and the light in the hall begins to pulse like a living heartbeat. Faster, brighter, until the stone walls dissolve into a swirling expanse of gold and shadow. You read no longer standing on the library's marble floor, but in an endless plain of tall, silver grass that shivers without wind. The sky above is not the blue you know, but a deep fluid violet, streaked with rivers of green light. There are no buildings, no shelves, no books, only the feeling of vast possibility pressing against your skin. You take a step, and the grass parts, revealing a figure seated before a small fire, their features shifting as though they are made of smoke. Now a young woman, now an old man, now neither, and both who looks at you with eyes like polished amber. You came before the first story, they say, their voice layered, echoing as if 1,000 people spoke at once. And here, words are not yet bound by ink. Here, every thought is still a bird, free to fly where it will. They gesture to the empty air, and suddenly it is filled with swirling threads of light, each one a beginning that has not yet been told. You reach out to touch one, but they raise a hand sharply. Careful once, you hold a thread. You are bound to carry it into the library, and once told, it cannot be untold. Their gaze lingers on you, as though weighing something. Do you understand? You are not merely a visitor anymore, you are a carrier. Your mind flashes back to the hourglass, to the millions of moments it contained, and you realize that perhaps some of those grains were brought here by travelers. Like you entrusted with untold stories, the fire between you snaps and crackles, throwing sparks that hover in the air like tiny stars before dissolving into the grass. There is one thread here. The shifting figure says that it has waited an age for a keeper brave enough to bear it, but it will change you. They reach into the fire and pull out something impossible, a length of glowing golden string that should burn, yet sits cool and weightless in their hands. They hold it toward you, and though your fingers tremble, you take it, feeling an immediate rush of memories that aren't yours. Voices that speak in forgotten tongues, the rush of wings above ancient seas, the fall of great cities you've never seen, the birth of constellations overhead. It's overwhelming, and yet, somewhere deep inside, you feel it settle, becoming part of you. The figure's form grows fainter, like smoke dispersing into the wind. Return, they whisper. The library awaits its new keeper, and the silver grass ripples violently as if a storm approaches. The violet sky fractures into shards of light, and you are pulled backward through time, through fire, through pages, until your feet find marble floor. Once more the blank book, now glowing in your hands, the golden thread vanishing into its spine, and the keepers around you watching with unreadable expressions. One of them steps forward and says, "You have crossed the veil of origins," the keeper says, their voice hushed but edged with something between awe and caution. Few have ever touched a thread before its telling. Fewer still have returned with it intact. They glance toward the other keepers, and you notice that some bow their heads while others keep their eyes fixed on you, almost as if measuring whether you are friend or threat. Do you know what you've brought back? They ask, but the truth is, you don't nod fully. You only feel its weight, not as a burden, but as a living presence within you, the golden warmth still humming faintly in your chest. It is the first story, the keeper continues, stepping closer, the one from which all others are born, the one that shapes how the rest are told. Their words sink into you like rain into dry soil, and a part of you begins to understand. Every book, every tale, every whispered legend in the library has been shaped by this single, original thread. If it is told wrongly, all stories will twist to match its error. Another keeper speaks up, their tone sharper, and worlds will change with it. The candlelight flickers as if uneasy, shadows elongating on the marble floor. You swallow hard, realizing the magnitude of what now rests in your hands. Then teach me, you say, surprising yourself with the firmness in your own voice. Teach me to tell it true. A ripple of murmurs moves through the assembled keepers, some nodding, others frowning, until the first keeper raises a hand for silence. Very well, they say, but know this, the first story cannot be told in haste, nor in comfort, nor without cost. It must be lived before it can be spoken. Your pulse quickens, lived repeat, but before you can ask more, the blank book in your hands begins to turn its own pages, flipping faster and faster until it lands open on a scene that seems to rise from the paper itself. A full world forming in the air between you and the Keeper's Mountains, sharp as blades. A sea that burns with golden fire instead of water. A lone city perched on the edge of a cliff, and in the distance, a storm shaped like a colossal winged creature. The Keeper's voice comes soft but firm. This is where your story begins, not as an observer, but as one within it. Your choices will bind the first story's path. The golden thread inside you pulses, tugging toward the vision, and the marble beneath your feet begins to dissolve like sand, the air around you growing heavier with salt and heat. Your last glimpse of the library is of the keepers watching you vanish into the unfolding world, some with hope, some with fear, and then you are standing on the cliffside in the golden sea wind, the roar of the approaching storm filling your ears, and a voice deep, resonant, and not your own speaks within your mind. Begin. The heat of the golden sea presses against your skin as the winds whip harder, carrying the metallic Thames of salt and sparks. The cliff beneath your feet is jagged and black, as if carved from cooled lightning, and when you look over the edge you see waves crashing like molten glass, each spray sending shards of glowing light into the sky. The storm looms closer, massive wings unfolding across the horizon, their edges sharp enough to slice the clouds in two, and though the sight is terrifying, a strange pull in your chest makes you step forward, as though this storm is not only meant to be faced but joined. Behind you, the air stirs and you hear the crunch of footsteps on stone. You turn and see a figure cloaked in feathers, not robes or armor, but feathers of every shade: crow black, falcon, silver, peacock, green, owl, white, each layer shifting as though alive. Their face is hidden behind a mask, shaped like a falcon's beak, but when they speak, the voice is warm and almost familiar. You are late, they say, tilting their head, as if studying not just your form but your essence. The first story waits for no one, and already it bends under the weight of misremembering. You open your mouth to speak, but hesitate, unsure of what words could possibly bridge the gap between your confusion and their certainty. You know me, you finally manage. The cloaked figure chuckles softly. I know of you, bearer of the golden thread, but I do not yet know if you are strong enough to weave it true. With a sweep of their arm, the feathers on their cloak shimmer and lift, scattering into the air like birds, circling above before returning to cloak them again. I am the keeper of wings, they say, the first guide, the one who teaches that no story takes flight without risk, without leaving the ground behind. Their falcon mask glints as lightning flashes from the storm, the massive creature of thunder and cloud growing closer with each heartbeat that the keeper points toward the storm. Is the harbinger of forgotten truths. It comes when stories are abandoned, when beginnings are left untold, when endings are stolen by silence. If you would guard the first story, you must stand against it. Your throat tightens. Stand against that. You glance toward the storm, its wings so vast they blot out half the sky. I don't even know where to start. The Keeper of Wings leans closer, their feathered mask inches from your face. "Start by trusting what you carry," they whisper, their voice like wind rushing through canyon stone. For the golden thread does not shine unless you believe it can. As if in answer, the warmth inside your chest pulses, brighter now, threads of gold flickering outward and curling around your fingertips, and the storm's winged shape lets out a cry, so loud it rattles the cliff beneath you, a cry that sounds like thousands of pages being torn at once. The first story is listening. The Keeper of Wings says, stepping back and spreading their arms wide, "Tell it something true, and let the storm hear you." Your breath trembles as the storm's cry rips across the sky, its wings blotting out the moon and stars, and the cliff beneath your feet groans, as though it too feels the weight of the forgotten truths pressing down. The golden threads coil tighter around your fingers, hot and humming, yet waiting for you to decide whether they are weapon, shield, or song. The Keeper of Wings stands silent at your side, feathers stirring, though no wind touches them, their falcon mask tilted as if daring you to falter. "Speak," they urge, before the storm silences you. And so you draw air into your chest, the salt burning, the light searing your throat, and you shout the first truth that rises, unplanned, unpolished, raw. "I am here." The words fly like sparks, golden threads snapping free of your hands, and shooting into the sky, they streak across the storm's vast body, etching glowing lines into the dark clouds, and the harbinger of forgotten truths falters, just for a moment, its torn page cry breaking into a shriek that sounds almost pained. Encouraged, you press forward, shouting again, this time louder, "I will not forget." More threads burst forth, weaving a net of light across the storm. The winds lash harder, tearing at your cloak, biting at your skin, but the warmth inside you grows, a steady flame feeding on your courage. The Keeper of Wings raises their arms, feathers lifting skyward, and their voice joins yours. Not words, but a piercing falcon's cry, clear and sharp, cutting through the harbinger's roar. "Tell it more," they shout, and so you speak again. Truths tumbling unbidden, stories live in us. They do not end when forgotten, they wait to be remembered. The golden threads surge, whipping outward like living fire, wrapping around the harbinger's wings, and for the first time you see its shape fully. A monstrous bird made of torn parchment and storm cloud, its feathers shredded books, its eyes hollow inkwells, its talons sharpened quills dripping ink that sizzles as it hits the cliffstone. It lunges, wings battering the air, claws reaching, and instinct drives you forward. Raising your glowing hands, golden threads lash out, striking its talons, binding them mid-swipe. The harbinger thrashes, ink spilling across the rocks, burning holes in the stone. "Good," the Keeper cries, leaping beside you, their feathered cloak unfurling into 1,000 birds that dive and peck at the storm, scattering pages. But even bound, the harbinger thrashes with such power that your knees buckle, your chest burns, and the thread threatens to snap. It will not hold. You gasp. The Keeper turns, their mask inches from yours, eyes hidden but voice fierce. "Then weave tighter, weave stronger. We've not only your truth, but the truth of all who came before." You look down at your hands and see not only your own threads, but hundreds more, faint but present, ghostly strands stretching from the air, from the rocks, from the very sea, threads left behind by those who told stories here long before you, all waiting to be remembered, all waiting to be bound into something greater. The storm bellows, feathers of shredded parchment raining down, but you raise your hands, seize those forgotten threads, and with a cry that feels like a tears from the depths of your soul, you weave them into your golden thread, a blazing tapestry that surges upward, wrapping round the harbinger in a net of light so bright it blinds you. The storm screams wings, flailing until with a thunderous crack it bursts, apart, scattering into 1,000 pieces of paper each, glowing briefly before dissolving into starlight. Silence falls. The cliff is still, and you collapse to your knees, chest heaving, golden light dimming around your fingers. The Keeper of Wings kneels beside you, resting a feathered hand on your shoulder. "You have faced the first test," they murmur, voice soft now, almost tender, "and you did not falter. The first story still breathes, because you gave it breath." Above you, the sky clears, stars returning, brighter than you have ever seen, and for the first time since stepping into this place, you realize the story you are living is not only one to be told, it is one that will change everything. Your breath trembles as the storm's cry rips across the sky, its wings blotting out the moon and stars. And the cliff beneath your feet groans, as though it too feels the weight of the forgotten truths pressing down. The golden threads coil tighter around your fingers, hot and humming, yet waiting for you to decide whether they are weapon, shield, or song. The keeper of wings stands silent at your side, feathers stirring, though no wind touches them. Their falcon mask tilted as if daring you to falter. Speak, they urge, before the storm silences you. And so you draw air into your chest, the salt burning, the light searing your throat, and you shout the first truth that rises, unplanned, unpolished, raw. I am here. The words fly like sparks, golden threads snapping free of your hands, and shooting into the sky, they streak across the storm's vast body, etching glowing lines into the dark clouds, and the harbinger of forgotten truths falters, just for a moment, its torn page cry breaking into a shriek that sounds almost pained. Encouraged, you press forward, shouting again, this time louder, I will not forget. More threads burst forth, weaving a net of light across the storm. The winds lash harder, tearing at your cloak, biting at your skin, but the warmth inside you grows, a steady flame feeding on your courage. The keeper of wings raises their arms, feathers lifting skyward, and their voice joins yours. Not words, but a piercing falcon's cry, clear and sharp, cutting through the harbinger's roar. Tell it more, they shout, and so you speak again. Truths tumbling unbidden, stories live in us. They do not end when forgotten, they wait to be remembered. The golden threads surge, whipping outward like living fire, wrapping around the harbinger's wings, and for the first time you see its shape fully. A monstrous bird made of torn parchment and storm cloud, its feathers shredded books, its eyes hollow inkwells, its talons sharpened quills dripping ink that sizzles as it hits the cliffstone. It lunges, wings battering the air, claws reaching, and instinct drives you forward. Raising your glowing hands, golden threads lash out, striking its talons, binding them mid-swipe. The harbinger thrashes, ink spilling across the rocks, burning holes in the stone. Good, the keeper cries, leaping beside you, their feathered cloak unfurling into 1,000 birds that dive and peck at the storm, scattering pages. But even bound, the harbinger thrashes with such power that your knees buckle, your chest burns, and the thread threatens to snap. It will not hold. You gasp. The keeper turns, their mask inches from yours, eyes hidden but voice fierce. Then weave tighter, weave stronger, weave not only your truth, but the truth of all who came before. You look down at your hands and see not only your own threads, but hundreds more, faint but present, ghostly strands stretching from the air, from the rocks, from the very sea, threads left behind by those who told stories here long before you, all waiting to be remembered, all waiting to be bound into something greater. The storm bellows, feathers of shredded parchment raining down, but you raise your hands, seize those forgotten threads, and with a cry that feels like a tears from the depths of your soul, you weave them into your golden thread, a blazing tapestry that surges upward, wrapping round the harbinger in a net of light so bright it blinds you. The storm screams wings, flailing until with a thunderous crack it bursts, apart, scattering into 1,000 pieces of paper each, glowing briefly before dissolving into starlight. Silence falls. The cliff is still, and you collapse to your knees, chest heaving, golden light dimming around your fingers. The keeper of wings kneels beside you, resting a feathered hand on your shoulder. You have faced the first test, they murmur, voice soft now, almost tender, and you did not falter. The first story still breathes, because you gave it breath. Above you, the sky clears, stars returning, brighter than you have ever seen, and for the first time since stepping into this place, you realize the story you are living is not only one to be told, it is one that will change everything. The night holds its breath as you rise again, weak but steadied by the keeper's feathered hand, and the cliff where you stood only moments ago shudders, the cracks left by the harbinger's ink widening and then sealing with a soft glow, as if the earth itself is grateful you endured. The sea below glimmers calm once more, but when you look closer, you see fragments of parchment floating like fallen feathers upon the water, glowing faintly before dissolving into silver foam. Remnants of the storm's body returning to the currents of time. It is never destroyed, the keeper says, voice solemn, only transformed, waiting to test another if the stories are forgotten again. Their mask tilts toward the horizon, where a path of starlight now stretches across the sea like a bridge leading away from the cliff and toward a dark silhouette in the distance. A looming structure half sunken, half rising from the waves, spires like broken quills, arches like open books. The sea hall of echoes. The keeper whispers. Our path continues there, and though your body aches, though every thread in your chest still burns from the light you summoned, you know you must walk for the golden strands in your fingers, tug insistently pulling you toward the hall, as if it were calling your name. You step onto the starlight bridge, each footfall sending ripples of light through the shimmering path. The sea sighs below, whispering in languages you almost understand, fragments of forgotten songs brushing at your ears, voices of those who came before, their echoes carried in the tide. Do not fear their touch. The keeper advises as the voices grow louder, almost like a chorus. These are the songs of stories drowned. They will test if you can listen, not only speak. You close your eyes, allowing the voices to flow through you, and at once the tide surges with images: an old sailor reciting tales of monsters to calm children, a weaver humming a legend into her thread, a knight whispering prayers that are themselves stories of courage, all of them lost, drowned in time, and yet now you hear them, fleeting and fragile. You open your mouth, and without thinking, you hum back, your voice weaving gently into theirs. The echoes soften, harmonizing with you, until the bridge glows brighter, steady underfoot. Good, the keeper says with a faint nod. You are learning to carry, not only to wield, and together you step off the bridge. The sea hall towering above, salt-stained stone glimmering faintly with inscriptions, runes carved into every arch, glowing and fading as if breathing. The great doors stand ajar, massive slabs of blackened oak, yet no hand has opened them. They sway gently with the tide as though obeying another rhythm. Inside waits the second test. The keeper murmurs, but not of the storm, nor of the sky. This test is of memory itself, of how you hold what you have heard. Your chest tightens, for the first test nearly broke you, and this one promises to dig deeper still. Yet you cannot stop. The threads demand forward motion, and so you step inside. The sea hall greets you with silence, vast and cavernous. Broken pillars leaning like exhausted scribes, the floor rippled with water that reflects ghostly shapes. And then you hear it, the fluttering, the faint rustle like wings, no like pages, endless pages, turning without hands, a sound that echoes across the chamber. And from the darkness at the far end, something stirs, a figure shrouded in layers of parchment, bound with chains of ink, its face hidden beneath a mask of blank vellum, quill fingers dripping black droplets that hiss as they strike the water. The chronicler of the drowned, the keeper whispers beside you. It holds every story spoken but forgotten, every truth drowned in silence, and it will test whether you are worthy to carry its weight. The chronicler tilts its faceless head, and though no eyes meet yours, you feel the weight of being read, your body trembling under its unseen gaze. The rustling of its parchment robes grows louder, until the entire hall is filled with the sound of forgotten words. And suddenly your own voice is pulled from you, unwilling, uncontrollable, speaking fragments of stories you barely knew you remembered. Tales your grandmother told, songs you heard in passing, whispers you thought lost to dreams. The chronicler collects them all, chains clinking as it draws closer, and when it finally speaks, the sound is not words but thousands of voices, layered and broken, yet clear enough to chill your spine. If you remember, then show me you can keep them. The chronicler's presence fills the hall until it feels as though the walls themselves lean inward to listen. Its parchment-laden frame rustles with the weight of centuries, and every step it takes across the shallow water ripples like ink spilled on an untouched page. The sound of voices rising from its body grows louder, fragments of nursery rhymes, battle chants, prayers, poems, all tangled and fighting to be heard, and you feel them, pressing against your skin, clawing to enter your mind, to be remembered through you. Your knees nearly buckle. The tide of words is too vast, too heavy, but the golden threads coil tighter around your fingers, pulsing with warmth, as though urging you to steady yourself. Breathe, the keeper whispers at your side, though their voice feels far away. You must not drown in the flood, you must weave it. The chronicler raises its quill-like fingers, dripping black droplets that strike the water, and bloom into inked shapes, each drop becoming a story lost. Figures forming and dissolving. A soldier standing proud before vanishing into mist. A child's laughter echoing before the sound dies. A mother singing before silence falls. The chains rattling around its parchment layers tighten, and suddenly you are pulled into the tide. The world blurs, and you are no longer standing in the hall. You are inside a torrent of voices, an ocean of memory with no shore. Each wave hurling a different story at you, overwhelming, crushing. But then you remember the keeper's words. You must not only hold, you must weave, and so you reach for the golden threads in your hands, casting them outward like lines into the sea of words. At once the flood begins to shape, the chaos softening into patterns, voices aligning like instruments tuning to a single melody, and you weave them together, your heart beating in rhythm with the stories, your breath anchoring them one by one. You hum softly, your hum becoming song, your song becoming a loom, and the flood begins to quiet. The figures of the soldier, the child, the mother no longer vanish but take shape, standing in glowing outlines around you, bound by the threads. You cast their voices harmonize into something coherent, a single shared story of endurance, of love carried through time. The chronicler halts, its faceless vellum mask tilting, the rustling of parchment slowing as though listening, and in the silence that follows, you speak, your voice trembling but strong. None are lost. None are drowned, if they are carried, and the hall trembles with the truth of it. The chronicler shudders, chains rattling violently, quill fingers clawing at the air as though fighting something within itself. The parchment layers peel back, revealing beneath them not a figure but a glowing core, a book bound in silver light, pulsing with power. The voices within it are no longer broken. They hum as one, and the chronicler bows, slowly, with a sound like thousands of pages settling closed. Then carry them. The layered voices murmur, softer now, almost like a blessing. But no, if you falter, the flood returns. The silver-bound book rises from its chest, floating toward you, and when you touch it, the golden threads in your hands fuse into it, binding themselves to its spine. You feel its weight, heavier than stone yet light as a feather, every story within it, whispering softly, not as a burden, but as a presence alive within you. The chronicler dissolves into drifting fragments of parchment that fall into the water and vanish, leaving only silence behind. The sea hall breathes again, the pillars standing taller, the arches glowing brighter. The keeper steps forward, their masks tilting slightly as if in pride. You did not drown. They say quietly, you wove. You hold the silver-bound book to your chest, its warmth seeping into you, and you feel changed, as if your heartbeat now carries more than blood, it carries a chorus, the strength of voices that will never be forgotten again. Yet even as the peace settles, the keeper's feathers ruffle uneasily, their gaze turning toward the far end of the hall, where a door of black stone stands sealed, etched with shifting runes that seem to squirm and writhe. The third path awaits, they murmur, and it is darker than flood or storm, for it is not made of what is lost, but of what refuses to be remembered. A chill runs through you as the runes twist into shapes you can not quite hold in your mind, vanishing each time. You try to grasp them, and for the first time the keeper falters, their masked face lowering. We may not both return from it. The air before the black stone door feels colder than the rest of the sea hall, as though it leaks a darkness deeper than shadow. The runes etched into its surface pulse faintly, like veins carrying something poisonous, and every time you glance at them, the shapes slide from memory, leaving you with the eerie sensation that your thoughts are being erased as quickly as they form. The keeper stands beside you, their posture taut, the feathers of their cloak trembling with unease, their masked face angled low. This path, they say softly, is the one I wished never to open, yet the library insists, and if it insists, then it knows something we do not. Their voice carries a gravity that chills you further, and you realize that for all their calm guidance, the keeper is not immune to fear. What lies beyond? You ask, though your voice quivers and the keeper's silence stretches, until it feels unbearable. Finally they answer. Oblivion's echo the chamber where unspoken truths go when no one dares carry them. It is not merely forgotten, it is denied, buried, rejected, and such things do not rest quietly. They claw, they demand, they try to unmake all who listen. Their words press on your heart like a weight, yet the silver-bound book against your chest thrums softly, its pulse steady as though reminding you that the voices you saved are still with you, your allies in this labyrinth of memory. If I falter, the keeper continues, their tone low, you must not try to pull me back, for the echo feeds on tethered bonds. It will use my unraveling to unmake you as well. You want to protest, but the certainty in their words silences you. Instead, you step closer to the door, the golden threads woven into your hands flickering faintly, and as you raise your palm, the runes writhe violently, hissing like serpents in a pit, then vanish entirely, leaving the stone bare. The door groans as it begins to open inward, revealing not another hall, but a void, blacker than night, blacker than ink, swallowing all light. The sound that seeps from it is worse than silence. It is the echo of voices that never existed, whispers that unravel the meaning of words as soon as they are spoken. The keeper grips your wrist suddenly, holding you still. When we step inside, they murmur, "Do not listen, do not answer, for the ego craves dialogue, and once you give it your voice, it will never stop feeding." Your breath quickens, but you nod, clutching the book tightly as you step with them into the void. The stone vanishes beneath your feet, and for a moment you are falling though. You feel no wind, only the sensation of being pulled through layers of untime. Then you land upon something solid, though unseen, and the void blooms around you, vast and endless, filled with drifting fragments of things that seem almost familiar yet refuse to solidify. Broken sentences, half-shapes, shadows of faces, all dissolving before they can become real. You feel them pressing at the edges of your mind, trying to hollow you, and instinctively you grip the golden threads harder, drawing their light around you like a shield. But the keeper sways, their cloak of feathers darkening as though something is leeching from them. "It's already here," they whisper, and from the abyss ahead, a ripple forms, spreading outward until it shapes into something that is not a figure, but a distortion, like a mirror cracking through water. A voice rises from it, layered and hollow. "You cannot carry what refuses to be carried. You cannot weave what was never made. You cannot fight me, for I am the absence of story." The words scrape your ears like shards of glass, and before you can stop yourself, a reply stirs on your lips. But the keeper's grip tightens sharply, their masked face close to yours. "Do not speak," they hiss. "Anchor yourself in the book, anchor in the threads. Remember what breath is." You nod, trembling, clutching the book as it glows brighter, and for a moment, the distortion falters, the light pushing it back, but it begins to split, multiplying, echoes upon echoes, filling the void, their hollow voices overlapping. You will forget your name, you will forget your face, you will forget your steps, until only I remain. The sound crushes against you like a tide, and you realize the battle ahead is not one of force, but of endurance. Whether you can remember when the void demands forgetting. The echoes ripple and multiply, each hollow voice layering over the next, until it feels like the air itself is filled with thousands of mouths whispering directly into your bones. Every word is an unraveling, a pulling apart of thought, as though the sound itself erases the structure of your memory, and you clutch the silver-bound book so tightly your knuckles ache. Its warmth is the only real thing, its pulse the only rhythm keeping you steady in this abyss of nothingness. The keeper staggers beside you, their feathers no longer white and silver, but streaked with black that bleeds downward like spilled ink. Their mask flickers between presence and absence. At times you see their face behind it, though the details blur too quickly to hold. "They are pulling at me," they rasp, voice breaking. "They want me to be forgotten." Their knees bend as though they might collapse, and you realize with horror that the keeper is unspooling, their shape coming undone at the edges, like a painting rubbed raw. Instinct surges through you, stronger than fear, and you wrap one of the golden threads around their arm. The thread burns as the echo hisses violently. "Do not bind what seeks to vanish. Let go, let go, let go." The words pierce your mind, demanding obedience, but you grit your teeth, whispering into the void, though you know you should not. You are not absence, you are cowardice disguised as truth. The keeper's head jerks toward you, masks trembling. Do not answer it, but it is too late. The distortion swells, sensing your voice, multiplying again until the whole void shakes with the weight of its hollow chorus. Yet the golden thread in your hand glows fiercely, brighter than before, as though your defiance has fueled it. The book joins in, its silver pages bursting open, not with words, but with the sound of remembered laughter, voices of those who once lived filling the abyss like wind. You hear a child giggling a lullaby sung in a forgotten dialect, the rhythm of an old drum, and with each sound the darkness recoils shrieking, for the echo cannot abide the fullness of what was truly lived. "Yes," the keeper gasps, clutching at their chest, color flooding back into their cloak as the black recedes. "That is it. Do not fight it with silence. Fight it with memory. Fight it with life." and together you hurl the book's light outward, spilling threads across the void, each thread weaving a pattern, forming constellations where there was once only erasure. The distortion writhes violently, its form fracturing, its hollow voices breaking. You cannot carry all. You cannot weave enough, but its words falter, dissolving into stutters as more voices emerge from the threads, the ones you have saved since the beginning of this journey. The voices of the trapped books, of forgotten storytellers, of nameless dreamers. They rise in a chorus, not of despair, but of defiance, and the abyss begins to collapse inward, folding upon itself like a wound. Stitching closed, the keeper grips your shoulder, their mask steady once more. You must finish it, they say urgently. It will try to hide in you. It will try to make you believe you are nothing. Do not let it take root. And as the last distortion hurtles toward you, stretching like a black tendril of absence, you hold the book wide open and shout, not words of defiance, but a memory, a small, ordinary memory that belongs to you alone. The smell of rain on earth after a summer storm, the warmth of bread just out of the oven, the sound of your own laughter when you were younger, and the tendril bursts apart, scattering into nothing. The void convulses, then collapses entirely, leaving you and the keeper standing upon a floor of luminous stone, a new chamber revealed, where the air is clear and quiet, but trembling with something vast and waiting. The keeper steadies themselves, breathing heavily, then looks at you with a reverence they have never shown before. You carried what I could not, they say, bowing their masked head. You have done what no keeper ever dared, and yet, this is only the threshold, not the heart. They gesture to the chamber ahead, where stairs spiral upward into light, and as you take the first step, the golden threads hum gently, promising that your journey through the library is far from over. The stairs curve endlessly upward, each step carved from a stone that glows faintly as your foot touches it, as if acknowledging your presence. And the higher you climb, the lighter the air feels, no longer weighted by the echo of absence, but instead threaded with the scent of parchment, warmed by sunlight, though no sunburns here. The keeper walks just behind you, slower than before, every movement deliberate, their cloak trailing threads of faint light that drag like smoke. You glance back once and notice how their masked gaze lingers on you, not in command but in trust, a reversal from when you first entered the library, when they led and you followed. Now it feels as though you are carrying them with you, step by step. When at last you reach the top of the staircase, the chamber opens so suddenly and so wide that you catch your breath, for here is not a room, but a horizon, a sky that is roofless, filled with stars. Yet these are not stars of any night you have seen. Each one pulses faintly, and as you watch, you realize they are not fixed, but drifting, moving slowly across the expanse like ships upon a sea, and beneath them stretches an ocean of shelves, immeasurable in their number, arranged in spirals, circles, constellations of wood and stone that spread outward without end. And every shelf holds not books but vessels glowing, urns, mirrored globes, crystalline shards, each object holding something different. Some pulse with light, some whisper faintly, some hum low like a distant chord. The keeper raises a trembling hand toward it all and whispers the heart, their voice filled with awe and fear, the place where memory is not bound to pages, but to essence, where the very breath of what once was is kept safe. And you realize this is not merely a library, but a living cosmos of remembrance, a place where every story is preserved, not as words alone, but as entire fragments of lives, whole worlds captured and sustained. Yet the beauty of it is streaked with something unsettling, for here and there you see dark patches where stars have gone dim, vessels that flicker weakly or sit empty. The keeper lowers their head. The echo fed here. It drained what it could. It will not easily return now, but the damage it left remains, and if this is not healed, more absences will grow. Their masked face tilts to you, and only you may carry the threads to mend it. I cannot step where you must. You step forward, and the floor beneath your feet ripples like water, though it holds your weight. Every movement sends a wave outward, stirring the shelves, making the vessels tremble as though your presence is an instrument being played across this cosmos. You reach for the nearest vessel, a crystal shard humming faintly, and as you touch it, your vision fills with images not your own. You are in a meadow centuries ago, the smell of heather thick in the air, A woman hums to herself, while weaving flowers into her daughter's hair. Their laughter carries across the wind, and then it vanishes, leaving you standing once more in the chamber. Your fingers trembling. The keeper's voice threads into your ear, soft but urgent. Do you see now? These are lives, not just words. You carry them when you carry the threads. You mend them when you choose to remember them. But know this, every vessel you touch, every life you bring into yourself, changes you. For memory is weight as much as it is light. Your chest aches as you realize the scale of what lies before you. Thousands, millions, each waiting, each fragile, each flickering with the need to be remembered. And though the task feels unbearable, a small ember of resolve burns within you, for you have already stood in the abyss and held fast. You have already faced the echo and refused to let go. And as the vessels around you stir, as the shelves shiver like leaves in a windless forest, you hear them calling not in words, but in the longing to be carried, to be held, to be remembered. The keeper steps back, their figure dissolving slightly at the edges, as if retreating. It begins here. They whisper in the heart. You must decide which memories to anchor first, and with each choice, the path of the library reshapes for it, is alive, and it will answer to what you hold most dearly. And as you look across the endless horizon of stars, shelves, and vessels, the enormity of the journey presses against your chest like both a weight and a promise. The heart of the library awaits your hand, your thread, your memory, and the light above stirs as though bending closer, watching to see what you will choose. You step further into the heart, the vast chamber where shelves curve and spiral like constellations, where each vessel hums with the weight of a life, and the stars above drift like watchful eyes. The keeper lingers at the threshold, their figure now almost translucent, as though the further you move, the more the responsibility shifts from them to you. And before you, 3 vessels rise from the shelves, as if summoned by your very presence. They hover in the air, spinning gently, waiting for your hand. The first is a globe of smoky glass, faint light pulsing at its center like a heartbeat. The second is a vessel of polished wood, bound with bronze bands, etched with symbols of rain and seed. The third is a shard of crystalline ice, its edges glimmering with trapped fragments of color that flicker like forgotten laughter. The keeper's voice drifts across the chamber, distant and faint. Each holds a memory not yet lost, but fading. Each one a fragment that longs for a bearer. Whichever you choose will thread itself into you, shaping the library and shaping yourself. Your hand trembles as you lift it toward the first, and as your skin touches the cool surface, you are swept into its memory. You stand in a hall of stone lit by torches, banners hanging heavy on the walls, and a young scribe kneels before a noble who places a quill in their hand, declaring, "You shall be the keeper of our words, so our house may live beyond time." Then the vision fades, leaving you breathless, the vessel in your hand pulsing warmer now, as though grateful, but heavy too, as if its weight is yours to carry. You turn to the second, the wooden vessel, and the moment your fingers brush its surface, you are transported to a field beneath a storm. Farmers stand together, singing as rain pours down, their song rising with the rhythm of the drops, their joy fierce and defiant, for the harvest will be saved, and for a moment you feel the raw bond of community, stronger than fear. When you release it, the vessel steadies in the air, glowing with a faint bronze light. Finally, you reach for the shard of ice, its surface stinging cold, and suddenly you are at a mountain pass where travelers huddle near a fire, sharing stories, while snow lashes against their cloaks, each word like a shield against the cold. Their laughter brighter than the storm, and you feel warmth blossom in your chest as though it were your own. When you open your eyes, the shard hovers steady, colors flickering brighter. The keeper speaks again, their voice nearly an echo now. You have touched them, but now you must choose which to anchor. Only one thread may begin the weaving, for choice gives direction, and direction gives strength. The others will remain, waiting, but they will fade more quickly once one is chosen. Your heart hammers as you look at the 3 vessels, each beautiful, each alive with the weight of a memory, and you realize the library is not asking you to preserve everything at once, but to decide, to bear, to honor one first, so that others may follow. And though the immensity of the choice presses hard, you sense a quiet truth rising within you, that perhaps what matters most is not perfection, not saving all at once, but the courage to begin. And as the shelves ripple faintly, as the stars above seem to draw closer, you know the library itself is waiting for your decision, silent but expectant, the air heavy with the hum of lives that depend upon you. and with a deep breath, you extend your hand toward the vessel you will choose to anchor, knowing this single thread will begin the great weaving of remembrance that lies ahead. Your fingers close around the vessel you choose, and in that instant, the entire chamber exhales as though relieved. The shelves tremble with a resonant hum, the stars above flare brighter, and the vessel melts into your palm, its light running through your veins like threads of molten gold. Your body feels weightless, yet anchored, and when you blink, the library itself has shifted shelves, rearranging themselves in spirals that echo your choice corridors, bending into new shapes, the very architecture acknowledging your decision. From the ceiling, 1,000 motes of light fall like drifting snowflakes, settling into the new pattern, and you realize you have given the library direction, a rhythm to follow. The keeper, now no more than a shimmer at the chamber's edge, whispers, "So it begins." You are now bound, and the library will answer you. Their figure flickers, fading with each word, until only their voice lingers. Guard it well, for the vessels will trust you, and the echoes will guide you. But beware, every choice carries shadow as well as light. Then silence, pure and absolute, envelops the chamber. You are alone, yet not alone, for the vessel's pulse now beats in your chest, steady as your own heart. You take a cautious step, and the floor beneath you ripples into a pathway of light, leading deeper into the shelves. You follow, and as you walk, volumes open themselves, whispering fragments of stories into your ears, voices of children, of elders, of lovers and strangers, weaving around you in a tapestry of remembrance. It is overwhelming, like standing in the middle of a choir where every singer sings a different song. Yet somehow it does not clash, it harmonizes into something vaster than comprehension. You close your eyes and let it wash over you, until one voice rises clearer than the rest, a trembling voice, soft but insistent, calling your name. You turn sharply and find yourself facing a narrow aisle that was not there before, its shelves crooked and dark, shadows spilling across the floor. The voice comes again, closer, desperate, and with a deep breath you follow. The air grows colder, the light dimmer, the books here warped, their spines twisted, some titles blurred as though erased, and at the end of the aisle you see a single pedestal. Atop it rests a cracked mirror framed in iron, its surface clouded with swirling mist, and within the mist you glimpse the outline of a child, hand pressed against the glass, their eyes wide and pleading, their lips forming words you cannot hear but somehow feel deep inside you. "Dabti, let me fade." The vessel's warmth in your chest responds instantly, pulsing brighter as if urging you forward, yet a chill runs down your spine, for you realize this is not a vessel placed for you. It is something older, something that has found you. And as you step closer, the mist in the mirror begins to clear, revealing not just the child but scenes flickering behind them, villages burning, rivers drying, towers collapsing into dust, each image shattering as quickly as it appears. The child's voice finally reaches you, high and quivering. "If you do not remember me, all will fall." And as their small hand presses harder against the glass, cracks spider across the mirror's surface, light bleeding out, you feel a tug in your chest, the library pulling you toward the mirror, urging you to decide, will you place your newly anchored vessel against the glass, offering its light to stabilize this fragile echo, or will you step back, fearing that this is not meant to be, that perhaps shadows have taken shape to test you? The choice once again is yours, and this time you sense the weight of danger threaded within it. The mirror quivers as though it is alive, every fracture in its surface glowing faintly, each crack like a vein of trapped lightning. The child's face flickers in and out, sometimes so clear you feel you could reach through, other times so warped you fear it may not even be a child at all. The vessel in your chest surges hot, aching, yearning to be pressed against the mirror, but your instinct whispers caution, for the library has been gentle until now, guiding, showing, never forcing, and this sudden urgency carries a shadow within it. Yet the echo of the child's voice burrows into your bones. "Don't let me fade," again and again, louder, until your pulse races in time with the vessel's light. The shelves behind you creak, ancient wood groaning, as though even the library itself holds its breath, waiting for your choice. With a trembling hand you raise the vessel, its surface glowing like molten glass, and as you press it toward the cracked mirror, a flash of light erupts, dazzling and sharp. The fractures glow brighter, spiderwebbing faster, until the whole mirror is blazing. You try to pull back, but the vessel sticks, fused to the surface, light streaming out in ribbons, coiling around you like serpents of fire and mist. The child's hand presses from the other side, fingers overlapping yours, impossibly real, impossibly cold. And with one final shudder, the mirror shatters outward. Shards sprang into the air before freezing, suspended like stars. Time itself holds still. And from the broken frame, the child stumbles forward, collapsing into your arms, weightless and glowing, their body woven from strands of memory. And as they look up at you, their eyes are filled, not with fear, but with galaxies, reflections of countless ages. "You remembered me," they whisper, voice echoing in layers, as though many voices speak through them. And so the path opens. Before you can respond, the suspended shards of mirror ignite, each shard showing an image, worlds flickering across their surfaces. Kingdoms of flame, oceans made of glass, skies filled with wings, cities that stretch into eternity. Each shard a door, each shard a memory, and the child raises, a trembling hand pointing toward one shard in particular, where you see yourself. Standing beneath a sky torn by storms, a tower rising in the distance, at its peak, a beacon of pure light. "This is where the library was born," the child says, voice soft but firm. "And this is where you must go." Then their body flickers, fading into the vessel that now thrums brighter than ever, its light interwoven with their essence, and you realize they were not a prisoner, not a shadow, but a guide, an echo you were meant to restore. The mirror's frame disintegrates into dust. The shards swirl upward, forming a spiral that hovers above you and the library. Itself groans in approval, the shelves shifting the stars, rearranging a path forming toward the shard the child chose. And as you step forward, your foot leaves the stone floor and lands instead on air firm as glass, carrying you upward higher and higher into the spiral of shards. The library vanishes below, swallowed in shadow, and all that remains is the swirling starlit path, the hum of the vessel, and the shard of the storm-torn sky growing nearer with each step, until at last you stand before it, your hand raised, your breath steady, and with one final look back at the infinite spiral, you step into the shard and feel reality unravel around you, the world collapsing into pure white light. The moment you step through the shard, the white light dissolves into a sky stormed with color-brilliant purples and deep indigos rolling. Across a horizon that seems both infinite and contained, the wind sings around you, carrying the scent of wet stone and smoldering parchment. And as your feet touch the ground, a crystalline plane that glimmers like frozen ink, the vessel in your chest pulses, harmonizing with the rhythm of this place, and you realize the shard is no mere fragment, but a world unto itself, a birthplace of the library, its terrain shaped by memory, thought, and the weight of countless choices. Before you stretches a towering structure, a tower of impossibly delicate glass and iron, spiraling upward into clouds that shimmer with sparks of light. The child's echo whispers through the vessel. This is the origin, where the library was first imagined, where its first vessels learned to breathe. And as you move closer, the air thickens with history, each step stirring visions, books that open themselves and release tiny storms, quills writing in mid-air, tables bending under the weight of stories, and corridors of light twisting into impossible loops. The sound of your own heartbeat merges with the rhythm of the shard, every pulse resonating through the crystalline ground, the vessel warming in response. And from above, a figure descends, cloaked in shadows and gold threads, the first keeper, their face hidden but their presence undeniable, voice rolling like distant thunder yet soft as moss. "Welcome, traveler, to the root of all that is written, all that is remembered, all that is imagined." You kneel instinctively, though it feels less like submission than recognition. For in this place you sense the library's first breath, its first decision, and the keeper extends a hand, not toward you, but toward the vessel, which vibrates and lifts gently into the air, floating between you, shining with the echo of the child, now fully integrated. You carry the memory of beginnings, the spark of creation itself, and here you will learn to shape it, to guide it, to honor the balance of shadow and light. And as you follow the keeper into the tower, every step resonates, the floors beneath your feet shifting like rippling water, walls bending to contain stories as if they have a life of their own, shelves rising and falling with quiet sighs, doors opening to reveal landscapes you have never walked, skies you have never seen, languages you do not know but understand intuitively. The vessel pulses again, thrumming with warmth, and you feel it settle against your chest, whispering encouragement. This is your place now, your responsibility, your song. and the keeper gestures toward a spiral staircase of glass that winds infinitely upward. The shards of the library's birth, spinning around you in slow arcs, fragments of histories and futures colliding, merging, scattering, and the first lesson becomes clear. To navigate this world is not merely to walk its corridors, but to breathe with it, to think with it, to feel with it, for each story carried within it is alive. Each choice within the library ripples outward, shaping not only the shard world, but every echo connected to it. And as you ascend the staircase, the winds carry whispers from the vessels you have already tended, calling greetings, reminders, and small joys, mingling with the voice of the child, who hums now in harmony. And with each step the vessel becomes a beacon, drawing strands of light from the shard sky into a path ahead, spiraling upward, toward an apex where all the library's beginnings converge. And you sense that the final test is approaching, a choice that will define the flow of knowledge, memory, and imagination for every world connected to this one. Yet you are not afraid, for the child's echo, the keeper's presence, and the vessel's pulse guide you, a harmony of trust and light, ready to meet whatever awaits at the pinnacle of creation itself. At the apex of the spiral staircase, the world opens into a circular chamber unlike any you have ever seen, its walls shimmering with liquid light that ripples with every heartbeat. The shards from below spinning lazily in concentric arcs, casting prismatic shadows across the crystalline floor, and in the center stands a pedestal of clear quartz, upon which rests a single unbound tome, its pages blank yet vibrating with the potential of infinite stories. The vessel thrums against your chest, warm and insistent, as though urging you forward, and the keeper's voice resonates from the chamber itself. Here lies the first trial, traveler, to choose not a story, but the way stories breathe, the balance between creation and shadow, for all that you do here will echo outward. You step toward the pedestal, your reflection flickering across the liquid walls, showing not only yourself, but fragments of every visitor who has ever carried a vessel, every child who has crossed the pools, every map drawn in moss or memory, and the air hums with possibility, vibrating with histories not yet lived, futures not yet imagined. The first page of the tome lifts slowly, blankness shimmering into a gentle light, and from that light, whispers emerge, a tale of beginnings and endings, joy and sorrow, the mundane and the magical, all intertwined, all alive. Listen, the vessel murmurs, and you will know. As your hand hovers above the page, you feel the library's heartbeat, each thrum a pulse of knowledge and care, to write, to guide, to release, but never to imprison. And you remember the child, the mirror, the shards, mirror, Kale, all the caretakers who have walked before, their whispers merging into a single cadence that synchronizes with your breath. The wind spirals through the chamber, rustling the edges of the tome's pages, and you realize that the trial is not one of skill, but of intention, to allow stories to live freely, to let memory and imagination flow, to accept both light and shadow. As equal partners the vessel warms, almost burning, and you feel a thread of connection from your chest to the center of the chamber through the tome, into every shard, every library, every whispering veil. Choose with your heart, not your mind, it murmurs, and you do, pressing your palm to the first page, feeling its light seep into your fingers, into your skin, into your soul, and the moment you touch it, the chamber explodes in gentle brilliance, shards of light cascading in arcs, reflecting every story, every memory, every possibility, and you hear laughter, not yours but carried through the library, the child's echo harmonizing, the keeper's approval resonating. So it is done, and as the brilliance fades, the pages of the tome are no longer blank but filled with shifting stories, each line alive, breathing softly, shimmering with potential. The vessel still against your chest, now warm and steady, and you realize the library itself has accepted your guidance, has welcomed your intention, and the keeper steps forward, shadow and gold blending seamlessly. You have completed the first trial, traveler, not by choosing a story, but by choosing to be a steward of life itself, of imagination, of balance. And the shards spiral down, returning to their lower places, the chamber expanding, opening doors onto landscapes of possibility, infinite and yet intimately familiar, the library humming softly, approvingly. Now you walk among them, it whispers, and your care shapes everything. And as you descend, the vessel glows with the light of the tome, illuminating paths, corridors, stairways that twist into the infinite, and you understand that the trial is never truly finished. For a steward's work is ongoing, a song without end, yet you feel no fear, only a serene certainty. The library welcoming you as both student and teacher, as both witness and guide, as both dreamer and caretaker, and every breath you take resonates with the pulse of creation. Every step a note in the symphony of light and shadow. That is the Ancient Luminous Library. With the trial behind you, the chamber begins to dissolve into corridors of softly glowing stone, each hallway alive with whispers and laughter, echoing the stories that have taken root and those yet to grow. And as you step forward, the vessel warms gently against your chest, guiding your path like a heartbeat through the library's veins, each footfall resonating with the pulse of centuries of imagination. And through the twisting corridors, you notice doors of every shape and size, arched and circular, narrow and impossibly tall. Each hums with its own rhythm, inviting you to explore. And when you open one, you are greeted by a library of wind, books floating lazily in currents, their pages turning themselves, releasing gentle breezes scented faintly of lavender and rain. The stories contained within speaking not in words, but in emotions, colors, memories. The vessel vibrates with recognition, reminding you that you are now a steward, not just a visitor, and your task is to listen, to feel, to nurture the living essence of these tales. And beyond that room lies another door, behind which a miniature forest has grown inside the library, its trees whispering with the voices of travelers who once dreamed here. The sunlight spilling from crystalline skylights, painting everything in hues of gold and silver. And you walk among the tiny groves, feeling each leaf pulse with memory, each root quiver with expectation, your vessel resonating in harmony, a lullaby of balance. And here, for the first time, you notice that your own presence begins to shape the spaces. A gentle sigh of relief causes blossoms to unfurl, a soft laugh causes a brook to ripple. Your heartbeat nudges clouds of shimmering dust along unseen paths, and in this you understand fully that stewardship is not about control but attunement, a dance of intention and response, a weaving of your awareness into the library's endless narrative. And in one corner, a set of tiny shelves hold stories of forgotten worlds, histories that never occurred but could. And as you touch the spines, visions bloom in the air around you, fleeting and luminous, teaching you that every story, even those imagined but unrealized, carries weight, carries life, carries the potential to influence the currents of thought and dream. And as night falls outside the shard world, the corridors glow ever brighter, the doors pulsing like living hearts, the vessel warming steadily, whispering encouragement. And you realize that the library has no true ceiling, no true walls, only layers of possibility expanding infinitely. And your role, gentle as it is profound, is to keep the balance, to guide with care, to allow creativity and memory to breathe without suffocation. And everywhere you look, stories respond to your presence. Small tales spiral upward as delicate lights, epic journeys unfurled across walls of liquid crystal, songs of long-lost voices. Echoes softly in the corners, laughter bounces off unseen ceilings, and you feel for the first time the profound weight and joy of being a living part of the library, a conductor not of music, but of narrative, intention, and imagination. And the keeper's voice drifts through the corridors, not commanding, but a gentle reminder. Each choice, each touch, each breath you take resonates across the library. Nurture gently, steward wisely, dream expansively, and with that, you step into the next chamber, ready to encounter the first fully awakened story, awaiting your care, its own vessel of light, pulsating in resonance with yours, signaling the beginning of a partnership that will carry forward the essence of imagination itself. The chamber opens like a living heart, walls curling in gentle arcs of translucent crystal, and at its center floats the first fully awakened story, a delicate thread of light, twisting and turning like smoke caught in a sunbeam, humming faintly with its own consciousness, its essence both fragile and eager, stretching toward you with a curious energy that feels like hope given form. And as you approach, the vessel pulses in rhythm with its flickering light, a silent greeting and recognition of your shared role in sustaining this life of narrative. And when you extend a hand, the story reacts not by touching you, but by weaving itself gently around your awareness, brushing against your mind like wind against the surface of a quiet lake, revealing flashes of its beginning, its dreams, and the spaces it longs to explore. And in that moment, you feel not as a caretaker alone, but as a partner a participant in a delicate dialogue of imagination and care. For the story responds only to attention that is gentle, deliberate, and empathetic. And in your vessel's warmth, you understand that stories here are neither fixed nor static. They are living, breathing entities shaped as much by their surroundings as by the hands that nurture them. And the room itself begins to shift, walls of shimmering light rearranging to accommodate the story's unfolding, soft steps of wind brushing against the floor, carrying hints of far off seas and forests, of laughter and whispers, of tears and wonder. And you learn quickly that this is the library's design. Each story requires space not only to exist but to flourish, and the more care you offer, the more vividly it manifests, its threads of light thickening, colors deepening, forms coalescing into scenes, characters stepping out of the luminous haze to enact moments both ephemeral and eternal. And the vessel pulses faster now, guiding your movements with the unspoken logic of trust, teaching you that each gesture matters, a tilt of your head, a soft exhale, even the gentlest thought of encouragement can alter the trajectory of the story's growth. And as the story spins a delicate spiral above your palm, you sense the delicate balance of giving it freedom while providing structure, nurturing imagination without forcing shape, allowing memory and possibility to coexist. And when you hum softly, a sound born of intuition rather than intention, the story responds, swirling around you in luminous arcs, settling like a living tapestry upon the crystalline floor, revealing lessons in patience, attunement, and the beauty of responsive care. And through this interaction, the library itself teaches a profound truth. Creation is not ownership, but co-creation, a partnership between consciousness and narrative. And as you watch the story flourish, a faint smile forms on your lips, not in pride, but in recognition of your role as steward. And the keeper's voice whispers through the walls of the chamber, soft and reverent. See, feel, breathe with it. Let it grow as it must, and it will teach you as much as you teach it. And the story, now fully shimmering with autonomous light, begins to drift along the corridors, leaving behind threads that hint at new adventures, new tales yet to awaken. And you realize that your stewardship is not a singular act, but an ongoing journey, one of attention, empathy, and gentle guidance, a dance with every living story that the library shelters. And each time you step forward, each time you breathe in its luminance, you are reminded of the sacred interplay of freedom and care, of memory and imagination, of light and shadow. And as you guide the story through its first arcs, you feel the infinite potential of this place, the Ancient Luminous Library, not as a structure of stone or crystal, but as a living organism, breathing with every story, every steward, every whisper of thought and dream. And in that understanding, you walk onward, ready to meet the next awakened story, the next pulse of light, the next heartbeat of imagination waiting for your care. As you step into the next chamber, the air shifts, cooler now, tinged with a faint metallic scent, and the walls shimmer with shadows that seem almost alive, curling like smoke but solid enough to cast shapes across the floor. And at the chamber's heart, the next story awaits a tale unlike the first, its threads of light darker, richer, coiling and uncoiling like a living tapestry of dusk, pulsing with secrets and untold mysteries, whispering with voices both soft and urgent, drawing your gaze as if it wants you to look closer, to feel the tension within its luminous veins. And the vessel hums gently, reminding you that not all stories in the library are simple or serene. Some are lessons in balance, in embracing contrast, in nurturing even the shadows alongside the light. And as you extend a careful hand, the story quivers, hesitant, testing, and you realize that this is a creature of duality, teaching that joy is amplified by sorrow, that light finds meaning only with darkness, that imagination must stretch to hold contradictions. And when you exhale slowly, letting breath merge with intention, the shadowed threads begin to shimmer with hints of silver, forming shapes that suggest paths, choices, possibilities. And through the interplay of your attention and the story's pulse, you discover a delicate rhythm, a dance of give and take, teaching patience, empathy, and courage. For the story will not flourish if forced. It requires attunement, a listening so deep that you feel the echoes of every emotion contained within it. The library's corridors bending subtly to accommodate its unfolding, guiding you to walk lightly, breathe deeply, and remain present. And as hours pass, the shadowed story begins to reveal its secrets. A city of flickering lights rises from its threads, streets winding impossibly, buildings bending in impossible arcs, inhabitants who are both human and dream, their laughter tinged with melancholy, their joy heightened by absence, and the vessel's warmth pulses steadily in your chest, a reminder that you are part of this unfolding, a necessary element in this delicate ecosystem of imagination. And when you hum, the story responds, not by revealing everything, but by inviting you to notice subtleties, a shadow that leans toward light, a bird's song emerging from silence, the pulse of a heartbeat in a corridor that seems endless. And through this engagement, you begin to understand the library's deeper truth. Every story, whether radiant or shadowed, teaches the steward not only about care, but about perception, about embracing paradox, about finding stillness amid motion. And as you step back, allowing the story to drift along its own path, the shadows ripple and shift, settling into patterns of exquisite beauty, patterns that speak of journeys, of resilience, of the coexistence of wonder and uncertainty. And in that moment, you feel the profound honor of being a steward, not a controller, not a master, but a participant in the living, breathing narrative of the library. And as you turn to the next doorway, you sense that even greater mysteries await, stories that challenge, stories that comfort, stories that demand both presence and imagination, all waiting for your careful, attentive touch. And in that awareness, you step forward with quiet reverence, ready to continue your journey through the infinite, luminous corridors of the ancient library, where every step, every breath, every heartbeat matters, and where every story you meet will shape you as much as you shape it, in a never-ending dance of light, shadow, and wonder. The next chamber opens with a gentle sigh, a breath of air that carries the faint scent of parchment and dew, and you notice immediately that the story here is not singular, it is many, interwoven like threads in a vast, living tapestry, each filament shimmering with its own hue and pulse, some bright, some muted, some glimmering with hidden secrets. And as you step closer, the threads respond to your presence, shifting subtly, curling around each other, forming new patterns, some familiar, some entirely unknown, as if the library itself is inviting you to see connections, to feel the resonance of one story within another, to perceive the hidden symphony of narratives that exists beyond the surface. And the vessel in your hand hums, vibrating softly with anticipation, as if encouraging you to move, to adjust, to guide without imposing. And you realize that this is a story of relationships, of interdependence, of how each tale, each voice, each pulse of imagination affects the others. And the chamber itself seems to breathe with that understanding, the walls pulsing in gentle waves, the crystalline floor reflecting the intertwined threads, like a river of stars moving, shifting, alive. And as you extend a hand, a single thread responds first, a ribbon of golden light that loops toward you, then twines with a silver strand, and then a dozen others, creating arcs, spirals, and delicate knots that tell stories within stories, scenes appearing briefly before dissolving, characters emerging and retreating, conversations whispered and unheard. And you begin to understand the challenge, to nurture coherence without forcing order, to recognize patterns without collapsing them into simplicity, to respect the individuality of each narrative while embracing the beauty of the whole. And when you breathe, slowly, mindfully, the threads pulse in response, forming bridges, overlapping arcs, gentle spirals that feel alive beneath your gaze, as if acknowledging your care, your attention, your patience. And the library itself seems to shimmer brighter, corridors bending subtly to reveal new perspectives, angles you could not have imagined. And in that process, you find that your own perception expands. You feel the threads not only with your eyes but with your awareness, sensing their histories, their emotions, the echoes of every steward who has ever tended to them. And a quiet voice whispers in your mind, neither judgmental nor commanding, but guiding. Listen, perceive, respond. Let each story breathe, let each connection emerge, and you will see the beauty of their interweaving. And slowly, steadily, you learn to trace pathways, to anticipate arcs, to offer gentle nudges without disrupting the natural unfolding. And the tapestry of interwoven stories begins to shimmer in harmony, a living constellation of light, shadow and narrative, revealing moments of joy, sorrow, wonder and discovery, all bound together in a luminous dance. And as you step back, allowing the tapestry to settle into its own rhythm, you feel a profound sense of connection, not only to the library, not only to the stories themselves, but to the larger network of all things, seen and unseen, known and imagined. And in that quiet awareness, you realize that stewardship here is not a task, but a partnership, a mindful, reverent collaboration with every living story, every thread of consciousness, every whisper of possibility. And as you turn to the next chamber, you feel anticipation, knowing that even more complex and wondrous narratives await, ready to teach, to challenge, to inspire, to enfold you in their light. And that in this library, every step forward is both discovery and creation, every breath both gift and responsibility, and every story a living invitation to wonder, to care, to imagine, and to participate in the infinite, luminous dance of narrative that stretches beyond time itself. As you step into the next chamber, the air thickens with a subtle warmth, carrying whispers of memory and echoes of moments long past, and the walls shimmer as if holding reflections of your own life, not just recorded in ink or light, but in something far more intricate: threads of emotion, sighs of laughter, tremors of fear, and quiet pauses that had slipped unnoticed through time. And the vessel in your hand begins to vibrate with recognition, attuned now to the delicate resonance of your own experiences, as if the library is preparing to weave them gently into the story before you. And the threads of light quiver and pulse, forming shapes that suggest not only narrative but feeling, not only characters but reflections of you. And with every careful step, you feel yourself both observer and participant, a presence both present and remembered, a consciousness folded into the living fabric of the library itself. And the first scene begins to emerge, a sunlit meadow you once dreamed of, rivers flowing in directions you had imagined in childhood, trees that bend like protective hands, and the story's figures move alongside these landscapes, embodying lessons you had forgotten but now remember, teaching you compassion, patience, courage, and wonder in ways subtle yet profound. And as your awareness deepens, you see that your memories are not merely personal, but connect to universal threads, a mother's gentle touch mirrored in another's kindness, a child's curiosity reflected in the question of a stranger long ago, laughter shared across time and space, grief echoed in quiet, invisible ways. And each time you interact, extending a hand or letting a breath shape a ripple of light, the story responds, bending its plot, adding layers, revealing insights, yet never overwhelming, guiding you instead to explore, to feel, to integrate. And as hours stretch and contract in this timeless place, the chamber itself seems to pulse in harmony with your heart, walls breathing faintly, light shifting like the slow turning of a page, shadows forming and dissolving in a rhythm that soothes and awakens at once. And you begin to understand that the library is not simply a repository of stories, it is a mirror, a reflection, a bridge between imagination and self, teaching that every tale carries within it the capacity to transform, to illuminate, to heal, to expand. And as you step fully into the narrative, allowing it to fold your memories gently into its own, you feel a profound shift, a lightness in your chest, a widening of perception, a clarity born of intimate interaction. And when the scene reaches its delicate resolution, you sense that the library has not only reflected your past, but guided you toward a deeper understanding of presence, of awareness, of the interconnectedness of all stories, all beings, all moments. And the vessel hums a quiet, steady note, acknowledging the co-creation of this chapter, while threads of light pulse outward, intertwining with countless other stories, other memories, other stewards. And you realize that you have not merely read a story, you have lived it, felt it, become part of its breathing tapestry. And as you step toward the next chamber, you carry with you both the gentle imprint of this experience and the anticipation of what the library will reveal next, knowing that each story is a path, each interaction a lesson, and that in this luminous sanctuary, your own presence shapes, honors, and is honored by the infinite web of narrative, waiting always for your careful, mindful participation. The chamber ahead opens with a soft, resonant chime, a sound that seems to originate both from above and below, echoing in gentle spirals that make the very air feel alive. And as you step inside, the walls shimmer with shifting patterns, not static images but dynamic storylines that respond instantly to your presence, curving and bending as if the library is sensing your intent, your curiosity, your heartbeat. And each step you take sends ripples through the luminous threads, like stones tossed into a mirrored pond, causing new shapes, new characters, and new arcs to emerge before you, as though the library itself is a living storyteller, improvising in concert with your awareness, and you realize that here, in this chamber, choice is woven into the narrative. A turn to the left might reveal a forgotten city along a silver river. A tilt of your head might uncover a character waiting to speak the line that unlocks a hidden truth. And when you reach out, your fingertips grazing the threads, they bend gently under your touch, forming arcs and spirals that respond, not with force, but with invitation, guiding you subtly toward paths you might not have considered. And the colors of the threads shift according to emotion: warm ambers for joy, deep blues for reflection, soft greens for curiosity, faint purples for quiet wonder, each hue vibrating with resonance as you move, breathe, and even imagine. And you notice that the figures in these living narratives glance toward you, not in judgment, but with awareness, eyes filled with recognition, acknowledging that you are not merely observing, but participating, co-creating, co-weaving. And as you navigate the chamber, the stories intertwine in ways both surprising and intuitive, plots folding into one another, lessons emerging organically, and each choice you make ripples through multiple layers simultaneously, creating a cascade of interwoven meaning. And you sense that the library is teaching something profound, that stories, like life, are interactive, responsive, and alive, shaped not only by those who create them, but by those who approach them with presence, attention, and heart. And as you breathe slowly, mindfully, the threads respond, pulsing gently in acknowledgement, and you feel a quiet exhilaration, a sense of wonder, and a deepening calm, realizing that in this chamber, every movement, every thought, every subtle intention becomes part of the narrative, part of the living architecture of the library. And the vessel in your hand glows faintly, a heartbeat in resonance with the chamber itself, as if whispering, "Here you are both witness and participant. Here every choice matters. Here you breathe life into story, and story breathes life into you." And as you take another step, you notice a doorway shimmering faintly ahead, not yet open, waiting for your next intention, a signal that the library's interactive dance is ready for a new chapter, one that promises discovery, reflection, and transformation. And you feel ready, open, fully present, to step through, knowing that whatever awaits will respond to your presence, and that in this luminous sanctuary, you are never separate from the story, never outside the narrative, but an integral part of the infinite breathing, shimmering tapestry of tales that stretches outward in all directions, alive, radiant, and endlessly inviting. As you step through the shimmering doorway, the library unfolds in a new dimension, one where time is no longer linear but layered, like translucent pages stacked upon one another, and each layer hums with a different story, a different era, a different heartbeat. And as you walk, you notice you can see through the threads of one timeline into another, watching scenes unfold simultaneously. A medieval scholar adjusting a candle beside a towering stack of manuscripts, a traveler in a distant desert following the faint glow of a distant lantern, a child centuries from now tracing patterns of light across a moonlit floor. And the library welcomes your presence, the threads bending gently to allow your vision to weave across these timelines, creating connections invisible to ordinary eyes. And the vessel in your hand pulses, as if synchronizing with the rhythms of each story, vibrating softly with every decision, every movement, every breath you take, guiding you deeper into the experience, teaching that past, present, and future are not separate, but interwoven. And that understanding comes not from observing a single line, but from seeing how all lines intersect, influence, and illuminate one another. And as you step closer to one of the layered threads, it rises and curves toward you, revealing a quiet scene, a scribe in a hidden alcove writing a spell of light into a book, unaware that centuries later you would witness this act. And the library gently folds your awareness into the scene, allowing you to feel the warmth of the candle, the scent of parchment, the soft scratch of quill on vellum, and simultaneously the echo of that act, resonating into future moments, guiding travelers and dreamers through time. And you realize that the library is not only a repository of stories, but a living memory of choices, intentions, and the interconnectedness of all beings. And as you explore further, threads intertwine in unexpected ways, revealing subtle symmetries, a laugh shared in one era, mirrored in another, a gesture of compassion crossing centuries to affect someone unseen, a single decision unfolding into multiple futures. And with each step, you feel your own presence folding into the library's design, not as an observer but as a participant, your thoughts and emotions subtly shaping the threads, your heartbeat synchronizing with the pulse of time. And the library teaches that history is not fixed, that stories are living, that even small intentions ripple outward. And the chamber around you seems to shimmer more intensely as you step into the center, where multiple threads converge into a single radiant sphere, a nexus of moments, a visual symphony of lives and choices, humming gently with possibility. And as you breathe, you sense the profound truth that to inhabit story fully is to inhabit time fully, to witness is to influence, to feel is to participate. And the library, in all its luminous glory, is both mirror and guide, offering you the gift of perspective, connection, and transformation. And as the threads pulse in harmony with your awareness, you understand that every story you have ever lived, imagined, or dreamed is here, intertwined, waiting for your gentle exploration. And that each step you take reverberates across centuries, across lives, across dreams, creating new harmonies, new patterns, new light, until the library itself seems to exhale in quiet celebration of your presence, and you realize that you have become part of something far larger, infinitely intricate, and endlessly alive. In the heart of the library, a soft glow gathers around a cluster of delicate pedestals, each holding an artifact that seems impossibly alive. A crystal quill that shimmers with unspoken words, a small hourglass where sand floats upward in reverse, a pendant containing a miniature storm captured within its glass. And as you approach, the artifacts respond to your presence, vibrating gently, their light pulsing in rhythm with your heartbeat, inviting you to choose one, to touch one, to step beyond mere observation and into experience. And when your fingers brush the crystal quill, a warm tingle spreads through your arm. And suddenly the library seems to dissolve around you, replaced by a scriptorium centuries ago, filled with the faint scent of ink and wood smoke, the soft flicker of candles casting dancing shadows. And you realize that you are no longer an outside observer, but part of the scene. You can feel the rough texture of the parchment beneath your hands, hear the quiet scratching of quill against vellum, and sense the tension and joy of creation in the air, as though the lives and intentions of those long past are momentarily shared with you. And yet, the library remains present in a subtle shimmer at the edges of perception, a quiet hum reminding you that even as you inhabit this timeline, you are part of the infinite, the connected, the luminous tapestry of stories that stretches through time. And as you explore further, stepping through the scriptorium and into the city streets of that era, you feel the cobblestones beneath your feet, hear the muted conversations, the clatter of carts, the distant toll of a bell, and each movement you make sends ripples through the timeline, altering small details that are immediately reflected back in the shimmer of the library's awareness, showing you that history is alive, malleable, responsive, and infinitely intricate. And when you next reach for the hourglass, you are transported to a desert camp where explorers chart the stars in the quiet hours before dawn, the cool wind brushing against your skin, the faint scent of spices carried on the air. And you realize that stepping into a timeline is not only immersion, but transformation. You breathe the era, you feel the lives, you move with its rhythms, and yet the library watches gently, a guardian and guide, allowing safe passage, giving insight, teaching that every choice, every observation, every emotion resonates far beyond a single moment. And as the hours pass, or perhaps days, you explore one timeline after another, each offering not only story, but understanding, empathy, and a deeper sense of connection to the infinite web of existence. And the artifacts respond subtly, pulsing with warmth when you engage fully, glowing faintly when you observe, shimmering with possibilities when you hesitate. And through this delicate dance, you feel a profound lesson settle into your mind and body, that time, story, and life are not separate, that to witness deeply is to participate, and that even in observing, you are shaping, co-creating, and illuminating the paths of countless lives, visible and invisible, past, present, and possible. And as you finally return to the library's central chamber, the glow of the artifacts fades gently, leaving a quiet resonance in your chest, a sense of wonder and belonging, a soft, lingering reminder that you have touched something eternal, something alive, and something infinitely beautiful. Beyond the artifacts, a narrow archway opens into a chamber unlike any you have seen before. The walls are made of softly glowing crystal that hum with quiet vibration. The floor ripples beneath your feet as if it were a liquid mirror, and the ceiling stretches endlessly upward into an inky void, sprinkled with points of light that pulse like breathing stars. And the moment you step inside, you feel a subtle shift. Your awareness expands. Your body feels lighter, as though you are moving through thought itself, not solid matter. And the library's presence is everywhere, a gentle hum guiding you forward, teaching you that here, in the dream chamber, imagination is not merely imagined, it is lived, experienced, and shaped with intention. And as you walk, shapes begin to form around you, forests that breathe with light, rivers of liquid silver flowing over smooth stones, mountains that rise and fall like the chest of a sleeping giant. And the library whispers that these landscapes are yours to explore, to inhabit, to interact with, not as a visitor but as a participant, feeling the texture of leaves, the cool splash of water, the warmth of sunlight filtered through crystalline branches. And every step you take alters the world subtly. A pebble you lift may become a constellation. A leaf you touch may echo with a memory from another timeline. A song you hum may ripple through the air, shaping currents of wind and light. And as you move deeper, you encounter beings not quite human, not quite creature, shimmering with hints of starlight, some curious, some shy, some drawn to the pulse of your heart. Each interaction weaving a thread of connection, a subtle proof that all imagination is alive, and that living within it, even briefly, teaches empathy, creativity, and the profound sense that reality itself is more flexible than it seems. And as you pause beside a river of liquid glass, the library guides your awareness to a small boat moored at the bank, inviting you to climb aboard. And as you drift along, the river bends through dreamscapes that shift seamlessly from one scene to another, fields of whispering flowers, cities that float on clouds, libraries carved from mountains, and in each place you feel the history and potential of countless lives, sometimes witnessing, sometimes interacting, sometimes shaping. And the library reminds you that this is the gift of the dream chamber, to walk within possibility, to live the unreal, to inhabit the tender, the strange, and the beautiful. And through this journey, you come to understand that imagination, like time, is not fixed, that the borders between what is, what was, and what could be are porous, and that, by fully embracing the experience, you participate in a living tapestry that connects all realities. And as your journey continues, the pulse of the library resonates with yours, a gentle affirmation that this adventure is both temporary and eternal, and that every sensation, every choice, every breath, every thought is a brushstroke upon the canvas of existence, weaving together the seen, the unseen, and the yet-to-be-known into a luminous, breathing whole. Beyond the dream chamber, a spiral staircase of crystal steps winds downward, each step resonating softly beneath your feet. And as you descend, the air grows cooler, tinged with the scent of old parchment, faint spices, and the quiet echo of whispered ideas, until you enter a vast hall unlike any other in the library. The archive of lost knowledge. Shelves rise impossibly high, carved from obsidian and silver, holding books, scrolls, and devices that seem to shimmer with an inner life, each one containing inventions, discoveries, and stories that never made it into the world, as if they had been born in the minds of dreamers but never fully realized. And the library invites you to explore, assuring you that here, impossibility is temporary, and curiosity is rewarded. As you move among the shelves, a book floats gently toward, your hands opening on its own, revealing diagrams of flying machines powered by sound, bridges that could span oceans in a single arc, lenses that capture not just light, but thought itself, and even musical instruments that play emotions instead of notes. And as you trace the delicate illustrations with your fingers, you feel the weight of knowledge, both lost and found, imagining how each idea might have shaped the world, and how now, within this library, you can engage with it, fully experiment in thought and understand its mechanisms, as if you were an inventor yourself, feeling the pulse of creativity in your fingertips. Nearby, a small mechanical globe spins lazily in the air, showing continents that never existed, oceans that ripple with currents of liquid light, and cities that rise and fall in response to unseen rhythms. And as you watch, the library allows you to step into the globe, shrinking until the terrain of possibility unfolds around you at human scale, giving you the sense that you can walk its streets, climb its mountains, and sail its luminescent waters, living inside ideas that had never been realized, yet feeling their weight, their texture, their logic, their beauty, and the deeper you explore, the more you understand that the archive is not merely a repository, but a teacher, showing how human imagination, when unbound, can create worlds, alter perception, and awaken the mind to infinite potential. In one corner, a softly glowing scroll reveals a blueprint for a lantern that can capture memories as light, and as you study it, the library allows you to construct it in thought, feeling the smooth metal, the warm glow of memory collected, and when the lantern flickers to life in your imagination, you see moments of laughter, discovery, and hope spilling into the air like liquid gold. And the library whispers that the value of knowledge is not only in doing, but in understanding, in experiencing, and in connecting what might have been to what can be now. And as you move through the archive, interacting with impossible creations and unrecorded discoveries, you sense the faint echo of the library's heartbeat, a pulse that tells you that all of this, the inventions, the books, the visions, is alive, and that by exploring, by feeling, by engaging, you are not just observing lost knowledge, but participating in its ongoing life, shaping it through attention and imagination, giving existence to what was once only dreamt. And so, hours or perhaps days' pastime behaves fluidly here when you finally step back from a floating map, showing continents that change with every glance. The library's soft voice reminds you that each choice, each curiosity, each imagined action has resonance, that even in realms that never existed, there is learning, there is growth, there is connection. And as you ascend the spiral staircase back toward the central chamber, carrying the weight of impossible ideas and the joy of exploration, you understand that the Ancient Luminous Library is not merely a place, but a living experience, a guide through time, imagination, and consciousness itself, a space where you have walked, touched, and lived the extraordinary, and where every story, every invention, every light, every shadow, every whispered idea continues to breathe, waiting for the next traveler willing to step fully into its luminous embrace. From the archive of lost knowledge, you are gently guided toward a corridor lined with translucent panels that shimmer like liquid glass, each reflecting faint glimmers of what might be paths not yet taken, choices not yet made, lives that could diverge in 1,000 ways. And the library whispers that this is the hall of echoing futures, where possibility itself is tangible, where potential unfolds like petals in slow motion, and where you can step into any scenario without leaving the calm certainty of the present. As you walk, the panels ripple in response to your presence, images shifting from one future to the next, a city where rivers glow with bioluminescent fish, a quiet village that thrives on kindness and song, a festival in a forest where trees illuminate with music and each vision feels real, not imagined, as if stepping closer allows you to breathe its air, feel its sun, hear its laughter, and understand the intricate weave of consequences and choices that might one day be. In the center of the hall, a pedestal rises, holding a softly glowing orb that hums with quiet energy, and the library invites you to touch it. The instant your hand makes contact, you feel yourself dissolve slightly, a gentle sensation of expansion, and suddenly you are moving along a stream of time, observing your own life branching in multiple directions, each decision casting light along paths you might never have taken. And as you move along these strands, you witness moments of joy, sorrow, surprise, and serenity that could have been, yet none feel lost. Instead, each one pulses with life, shimmering in harmony with the library's rhythm, teaching that every potential exists simultaneously, that life is a spectrum of possibility, and that observing without interference is its own form of understanding. Alongside your own potential, you see the lives of others' friends, strangers, historical figures, mythical beings, each choice branching like delicate threads of silk, some intertwining, some diverging, all shimmering softly in the library's ambient glow. And you feel the gentle weight of empathy as you recognize how intertwined all possibilities are, how even a single action can ripple across the fabric of time, influencing events seen and unseen, felt and unfelt, shaping the lives of countless beings in subtle, profound ways. And in this realization, you understand the library's lesson: to witness, to honor, to imagine, and to cultivate awareness without grasping, for the future is not fixed. Yet each perception leaves a soft trace upon it. The hall encourages you to walk further, and soon you find a quiet alcove where you may pause and meditate upon the visions around you. Here the echoes are gentle, not overwhelming, the weight of unchosen paths as light, and the library whispers that to live fully in the present, while aware of all potential, is to harmonize with the universe itself, feeling the balance between what is and what could be. You see futures where small acts of kindness blossom into movements, where curiosity leads to wondrous inventions, where love and understanding reshape civilizations. And in witnessing these threads, you feel a quiet sense of responsibility, not burden, but the gentle knowledge that imagination and awareness themselves are a form of creation, that observing and contemplating is participation. As your time in the Hall of Echoing Futures concludes, the library guides you back through the translucent corridor, each panel fading softly into calm light, the potential paths lingering in memory like a gentle hum, and you feel your awareness returning fully to your body, carrying with you the sense of infinite possibility, a renewed clarity of purpose, and the serene joy of having touched the living threads of time, even for a moment, while remaining anchored in the luminous calm of the library, where every whisper, every vision, every glow waits patiently for the next traveler willing to step into the vast expanse of imagination and existence. As you leave the Hall of Echoing Futures, the library gently ushers you into the Garden of Forgotten Whispers, where light filters like spun gold through a lattice of ancient trees, and every leaf and petal seems to carry a soft murmur, a fragment of story once told and almost lost. The air is fragrant with the scent of memory-honeyed blooms, rain on stone, parchment, and ink, and as you step deeper, you notice that the garden is alive, not only with plants, but with the voices of the past. Each whisper is delicate, a thread of language once spoken, a thought once cherished, now suspended like fireflies between branches, shimmering in gentle patterns of movement and sound. You feel the quiet invitation to walk slowly, to listen deeply, to allow the garden to unfold its stories around you, each one brushing past your awareness, as soft as wind over water. Nearby, a cluster of luminous flowers opens as you approach, their petals inscribed with faintly glowing runes, and when you lean in, the runes shift into letters forming forgotten words. A love letter never sent, a child's first story written in hidden ink, the laughter of a scholar lost to time. As you touch the petals, the words rise like mist and weave around you, creating tiny constellations of memory that float and settle in the space between branches. And you realize that the garden does not merely preserve voices, it allows them to live again, softly, gently, in harmony with the rhythm of your breathing, so that each story can be experienced as if it is being lived anew. A small stream winds through the garden, its waters glinting with starlight even though it is daytime, and the library encourages you to follow it. Each step along the bank brings whispers that weave together, forming dialogues you almost recognize but cannot place, histories that blend with imagination, personal memories, and echoes of civilizations long gone. You feel yourself transforming subtly, as if your perception is folding backward through time. You hear the voice of a medieval scholar, pondering astronomy, a wandering bard composing verses on the wind, a scribe illuminating a manuscript by candlelight, and with each echo your awareness softens into their perspective, experiencing centuries simultaneously while remaining grounded in the serenity of the library. Amid the flowering archways, you find a bench of polished stone, carved with spirals and delicate glyphs. Sitting, you notice that the surrounding air shimmers gently with subtle animation. Words rise from roots and petals, circle your head like soft fireflies, and return to the plants with the sound of whispered sighs. The garden invites you to participate, not by speaking aloud, but by remembering, imagining, and thinking. And as you do, the whispers respond, forming new phrases and stories that feel both foreign and familiar, as though you are adding a heartbeat to the library itself. Each memory you sense, each fragment you touch, resonates with the eternal, quiet hum of existence, and the garden teaches that stories never truly vanish. They simply await a listener attuned enough to breathe life back into them. From a nearby grove, a faint glow draws your gaze upward, where a tree of silver bark stands taller than any other, its branches laden with shimmering scrolls. The library whispers that this is the tree of whispered histories, where the most delicate and precious stories are held. Each scroll containing moments forgotten by time, now preserved in luminescent calm. As you approach, one scroll drifts gently down, landing in your lap, and when you open it, you are not reading in the ordinary sense. You feel the sensations of its tale, the warmth of a hearth in a winter storm, the softness of a petal pressed in a lover's book, the precise rhythm of a scholar's quill over parchment, and as you experience it, you understand that in this library, story is sensation, story is living, and every moment, even those long past, can be felt in the hush of presence. The garden stretches endlessly in gentle curves and hidden nooks, each turn bringing new whispers. A lullaby sung by a mother whose name has been forgotten, a market call from centuries ago, the clatter of horse hooves along a cobbled street, long vanished, a candle flickering across a scribe's desk. Walking these paths, you are transformed, not merely an observer but a participant in history's soft embrace, stepping lightly through the layered time of all that has been, guided by the library's luminous patience and carrying with you the sense that every life, every story, every whisper is alive, waiting to be felt, remembered, and cherished once more. Following the gentle incline of the garden, you notice a slender tower rising amid the trees, its spire glimmering faintly with the same ethereal light that dances on the leaves and stream. This is the Tower of Living Tomes, a place where books are not inanimate objects, but sentient beings, each one aware, curious, and eager to share the depths of its wisdom. As you step closer, the doors carved from ancient oak swing open without a sound, revealing shelves that seem to stretch endlessly upward, filled with tomes whose covers pulse with soft hues, and whose pages whisper faintly, calling out your name in tones only your imagination can hear. The air inside is thick with knowledge, yet light with calm. A paradox you feel settling in your chest, as if your own heartbeat has synchronized with the slow rhythm of the library itself. You reach for the first book that glimmers, a gentle sapphire, and the moment your fingers brush its cover, it hums softly, opening a window into a memory long past. You are no longer merely reading, you are feeling, experiencing, and participating. A merchant's market in the Middle Ages comes alive, the scent of baked bread, the clink of coins, the laughter of children darting between stalls. Yet the library adds a dreamlike layer there. Air shimmers, colors pulse, and the scene loops gently, allowing you to inhabit it without urgency, absorbing not only the facts but the emotions, textures, and rhythms of life from another era. You realize that each tome functions as a portal, and that the library itself is a living organism, responding to your presence, attuning to your curiosity, and shaping its stories to be felt rather than merely observed. Another tome, bound in a soft golden leather, drifts toward you unbidden, opening its pages as if inviting conversation. It tells the story of a scholar in a candlelit chamber, illustrating not only his words, but the sensation of the quill scratching, the faint warmth of the flickering flame, and the quiet weight of a thought forming into written language. You reach out, and the library responds, allowing you to sense the scholar's anticipation, the rhythm of the ink flowing, the care with which knowledge is preserved. It is intimate, almost overwhelming, yet comforting, like stepping inside a memory that is not your own but is entrusted to you. You understand that the library does not merely preserve history, it animates, it speaks, it breathes, and folds your consciousness gently into the fabric of its living archive. As you wander the spiraling staircases of the tower, you notice clusters of smaller tomes clustered around corners, murmuring in unison. Some offer guidance, suggesting which stories might comfort, which might challenge, and which might spark curiosity you did not know you possessed. Others are playful, tumbling open to reveal riddles, poems, and playful glimpses of imaginary worlds, reminders that knowledge and wonder are inseparable, and that the library values joy as highly as learning. Each tome seems aware of you, not just as a visitor but as a participant, attuned to your breath, your steps, even the quiet rhythm of your thoughts. You feel a deep connection, as if the library has waited for you, shaping the experience of each book around the soft resonance of your presence. At the top of the tower, a dome of glass allows light to pour in, scattering like liquid starlight across the shelves. From this vantage, you can see the garden below and the broader library grounds, the glowing paths winding like threads of gold through forests and streams, each shimmer reflecting moments of stories lived and remembered. Here, a particularly ancient tome floats toward you, its cover etched with spirals that pulse faintly with the library's heartbeat. Opening it, you are transported to a moment when scholars debated beneath vaulted ceilings, candles reflecting off polished wood, quills scratching on parchment. You sense their earnest hopes, the curiosity that propelled them, and the quiet exhilaration of discovery. It is immersive and calm, hypnotic in its layering of sensation, history, and imagination, each moment unhurried, each story an invitation to merge with the past and live it fully in the present. A soft chime echoes through the tower, not harsh but gentle, signaling the arrival of something new. A small, almost imperceptible glow gathers at the center of the room, coalescing into a map, one that is alive, shifting, and whispering. The living tomes lean closer, their pages rustling softly, as if acknowledging your presence and guiding you toward this next revelation. The map does not show locations in the ordinary sense. It maps moments, emotions, possibilities. It breathes with time itself, allowing you to trace not where a place is, but how a story unfolds, how choices ripple, and how understanding deepens when allowed to bloom slowly. You sense that the library's true gift is not in its content alone, but in this profound invitation to inhabit history, to engage fully with each fragment of life, and to become part of a living narrative that bridges centuries. Drawn forward by the pulsing glow of the map, you find yourself before a grand archway at the tower's highest point. Carved from dark, polished stone, it hums softly, resonating with an unseen rhythm that seems to match your own heartbeat. As you step through, the air changes cooler, fragrant with old ink and polished wood, and tinged with the faint scent of candle smoke. Before you stretches the archive of time, a vast circular chamber whose walls curve into the shadows above, lined with shelves upon shelves of tomes whose spines shimmer with shifting colors. Each book seems alive, vibrating faintly, and when you approach one, a whisper reaches your ears, a name, a date, a hint of the story contained within. You realize that these volumes are not merely records, but living echoes of history, each one holding a moment in time ready to be experienced once more. Your fingers hover over a deep violet tome embossed with silver glyphs, and as you open it, the room dissolves around you. You are transported to the early Renaissance, walking cobblestone streets filled with painters, sculptors, and scholars. You hear the scrape of brushes on canvas, the clink of chisels on marble, and the excited murmurs of apprentices learning under masters whose names have shaped history. You feel the weight of every tool in your hands, the energy of creativity flowing through your veins as you witness art being born. Every choice, every brushstroke, every whispered idea matters here, and the library allows you to observe the delicate interplay of inspiration and labor, revealing not only the event but the emotional resonance that made it meaningful. Another tome glows faintly, bound in amber gold, and as you touch it, the scene shifts to a medieval marketplace at dawn. Vendors call out their wares, horses shuffle in the streets, and the smell of freshly baked bread mingles with herbs and spices from far-off lands. You are not a passive observer. You feel the roughness of a basket, the smoothness of a coin, the subtle warmth of sunlight on your face. A young scribe passes by, and you instinctively hand him a quill. His eyes widen in surprise, then gratitude. You understand that the library allows you to interact, to ripple gently through time, participating without disrupting, to feel the humanity of each moment with clarity and empathy. Deeper into the archive, you discover a spiral staircase leading down, each step lined with softly glowing runes. The air grows quieter, heavier with anticipation, and at the bottom lies a chamber unlike any other. Here, books float freely, moving in gentle arcs as though guided by invisible hands. Their pages are open, showing scenes of wars, celebrations, discoveries, and quiet domestic life, all unfolding simultaneously. You step into this luminous river of history, and for the first time, you sense that the library is not simply showing you what was, it is offering you the sensation of being fully present in every era, breathing alongside those who lived, loved, struggled, and triumphed. Every moment you touch resonates with light, and you understand that the library bridges not only time but consciousness itself. You pause before a massive tome, its cover a mosaic of midnight blue and starlight, the edges of the pages glowing like the horizon at twilight. Opening it, you are swept into a 12th century cathedral under construction. Stone arches soaring above you, masons and carpenters shaping the sacred space with careful precision. You feel the vibrations of chisels striking stone, the weight of timber in your arms, the strain and exhilaration of creating something meant to endure centuries. The library imparts more than mere observation. It allows you to feel the intention, devotion, and fleeting moments of doubt and triumph that defined these lives. You breathe in the dust, the scent of incense, the sweat of effort, and the quiet pride of completion. Each sensory detail is recorded not on parchment, but in your very consciousness, a living, breathing history you carry with you. The library seems to breathe more deeply now, as if satisfied with the steps you have taken, yet eager to carry you further into its currents of time. You follow a passage lit by lanterns shaped like blossoms, their petals of crystal, glowing with soft inner fire, and as you step through an archway, you are drawn into a hall unlike any you have yet seen, a vaulted chamber where the air itself hums faintly, as though alive with music. The stone floor beneath you shimmers with faint reflections of moving notes, as if melodies have been etched into the ground, rippling outward with each footfall. At the center of the hall stands a circle of medieval musicians, dressed in robes of deep blue and scarlet, their instruments gleaming in the candlelight. Harps strung with silver thread flutes carved from polished bone, and drums stretched with skins that vibrate like living hearts. As they begin to play, the air fills with sound so pure it seems to touch your very bones, weaving through your chest until you feel yourself vibrating in harmony with the notes. One of the musicians beckons you forward and places a small harp in your hands, its frame carved with delicate runes that glow faintly as your fingers brush the strings. The first notes you pluck tremble like drops of water, but as you continue, the harp begins to respond to your inner rhythm, not only to your touch, but to your breath, your heartbeat, your thoughts. Soon, your music joins theirs, the tones twining together until the chamber itself glows brighter. Walls flickering with visions called forth by song. You see images rise in the air, constellations turning, rivers flowing, faces of people long gone, smiling as though alive again. The musicians nod at you with deep reverence, as if you are not simply joining their song but fulfilling a role the library has been waiting to reveal. When the final note fades, the silence left behind is not emptiness but fullness, as though the music still lingers in your very cells. A doorway opens on the far side of the chamber, and the library guides you onward, the faint hum of melody still vibrating behind you. You step into a space filled with firelight and the warm scent of woods. Here, a circle of villagers gathers around a storyteller, their faces illuminated by the flames as they lean closer, eyes wide with wonder. The storyteller is an elder with hair like silver thread and eyes that seem to hold centuries of memory. His voice is low but carries weight, and as he speaks, you feel the story itself taking shape in the air. Shadows flickering against the walls to form images that move like living paintings. Without warning, the elder pauses, turns to you, and gestures for you to take his place. The villagers' expectant faces turn toward you, waiting, trusting. For a moment you hesitate, but the library whispers in your ear, reminding you that stories already live within you, waiting only to be released. You open your mouth and begin to speak, and words flow out like water from a hidden spring. You tell of journeys through star-mapped skies, of gardens that heal, of harps that sing in harmony with the soul. You tell of the library itself, luminous and eternal, and as you speak, the flames leap higher, casting visions into the air, visions of all you have seen, all you have touched, all you have lived within these walls. The villagers listen with rapt attention, their eyes glistening, and when you finish, they bow their heads in reverence, as though you have shared not just a story but a truth that has always been theirs as well. The elder smiles and takes your hand, his palm warm and steady, whispering that to tell a story is to carry light into darkness, to weave memory into eternity, and that the library itself lives most strongly through the stories spoken and remembered. His words echo within you, and as the fire fades into glowing embers, the library once again gathers you in its arms of light, ready to lead you deeper into its endless chambers, deeper into the heart of time where sound, story, and spirit unite. The deeper you wander through the golden glow of the library, the more you notice how the books themselves seem to hum with anticipation, as though they know your time here is nearing its close, and they wish to share just a little more before you depart. The air shimmering with faint particles of light that rise like fireflies from the cracks in the stone, lifting into the vaulted ceiling where painted constellations flicker with renewed brilliance, the shelves curving into spirals that almost resemble galaxies themselves, endless yet welcoming, whispering to you that the knowledge they hold has always been yours, waiting for the right moment to be remembered. And as you move, you find a chamber you have not yet seen, a hidden alcove cloaked in woven ivy, and within rests a pedestal of polished jade, upon which lies a single tome, heavier and brighter than all others. its cover etched with runes that glow as though written in starlight. And when you reach toward it, you feel not the weight of its pages, but the warmth of something far older, the living pulse of memory itself. And when you open it, you see that the words written there are not in any tongue you know, yet you understand them effortlessly. They speak of you, of the path you have taken to come here, of the choices that led you to this ancient hall of luminous truth. And as you turn each page, your story unfurls in gentle waves, not as a rigid history but as a flowing river, showing you that your life is part of a great interwoven tapestry, and that every step, even those that felt uncertain, were always guiding you to this place of luminous reflection. And the more you read, the more the chamber seems to glow, the jade pedestals shimmering with the soft green of renewal, the runes brightening until the whole room feels like it has dissolved into living light. And just as you reach the final page, you see a message written not in glowing ink, but in the soft brush of a feather. When you awaken, remember this light is never lost. It is only waiting to be seen again. And you close the book gently, holding the echo of those words in your heart, the silence around you swelling with warmth, and you know the final farewell is drawing near. But it is not a farewell of endings, only a farewell of beginnings in disguise. The last chamber of the Ancient Luminous Library waits for you beyond a door that seems to form itself out of the light, tall and carved with the shapes of trees whose leaves are made of pure flame. And when you step through, you find yourself standing beneath an open sky. Though you are still within the library's embrace, the walls have become transparent, dissolving into the horizon of endless stars. And in this place, the shelves of books rise not from stone but from air, suspended like bridges between constellations, each volume glowing as if it were a lantern hung in the night. And you realize the library itself is alive, infinite, stretching outward into the cosmos, its heart pulsing softly in rhythm with your own. And as you breathe, the books closest to you drift gently from their shelves, circling you like companions, their covers opening just enough to release whispers of knowledge, fragments of stories, gentle echoes of lives lived long before you. And these voices surround you not as noise but as a lullaby, wrapping you in the certainty that you are part of something unending, that you have always been both the reader and the story, both the seeker and the light sought. And when the voices soften into silence, one last vision fills your eyes, the image of the library folding itself like wings around the world, tucking its light into the dreams of those who will one day find their way here just as you have. And the keeper's voice, soft, steady, eternal, whispers close to your ear, you are never truly leaving, for once a soul has touched this light, it will forever carry it within. And as the words fade, the glow around you deepens into a warm and endless dusk, like candlelight closing into sleep. And slowly you feel yourself being lifted, carried back through time, the golden halls receding but leaving a gentle imprint upon your spirit, until at last you open your eyes and find yourself in your own quiet space once more. Yet everything feels different, softer, brighter, as though the world itself now carries the hush of that luminous place. And you know with a calm certainty that the library is not gone. It rests within you, ready to open its doors whenever you close your eyes and listen. And so the story of the Ancient Luminous Library does not end here. It continues in your breath, your dreams, and the gentle unfolding of every tomorrow, for you are now a keeper of its light,